This is the High Noon Show. We do this each and every day, noon till just about whenever. Typically, we come on straight up at noon Central Standard Time, but today there were a couple extenuating circumstances, not the least of which is if you were listening to the Mansplaining Show that I do with Dr. Robert Schwartz on 97.1 The Freak here in Dallas-Fort Worth. If you were listening to that show last night, you may have noticed that right in the middle of the show, my voice went out. My voice completely went. I had nothing. I was like all of a sudden just like talking like this, and I'm turning my mic off, and Schwartz is trying to cover for me, and you can hear me off mic in the background just going, oh, it was horrible. So I had some great concerns about what we were going to be able to do. But honestly, I woke up today. I had to take care of a couple of things, voice-related stuff, and now listen to what I got. I got these beautiful dulcet tones. This is not good. This is not sustainable. This is not how I typically sound. But yeah, whatever. It's going to get me through the day. Hi, April. April's here. Jeff's here. Al's here. Come one, come all. Join in. We've got a full show for you. Don't worry. I won't cheap out on you. What a day it is here in North Texas, huh? Oh my God. Can I just hold on, let's figure out exactly what we're dealing with here. I didn't want to do that, but whatever. That's fine. Okay, I'm not in update. I am not one of these people that wakes up in the morning to the sound of thunder and rain and just gray darkness. I'm not one of these people who wake up to that and think, oh, it's going to be a terrible day. I'm just the opposite. Oh, what a day. It is cold. It is raining. It is wet. There is thunder. Oh, and currently right here in Highland Park, Texas, just inside the boundaries of the city of Dallas. It is 43 degrees. 43 degrees, ladies and gentlemen. 43 degrees. I could get used to this. This is nice. But unfortunately, my allergies and I caught a cold and I was having bad allergy attacks. We all know I get those and we can work through those. That's not a big deal. But then in the middle of the allergy attack, I caught the flu like a week ago or like 2 weeks ago. And so then I had like my allergy attacks coupled with a flu, but then the flu, it wasn't just a flu. There was like a little carpetbagger on the flu. And that was the worst head cold that I've ever had in my life. I've been battling this head cold. And then what happened last week? I was like 85 degrees on Thursday. It was 85 degrees. And then what happened on Friday? It was 38 degrees on Friday. We had freeze warnings. So I'm all kinds of screwed up. But we're going to get through it because I'm all medicated. I'm a little bit jittery. I've got my hot tea. I'm good. We're going to get through it. We're going to do a full show for you. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And, I know it was noon. It should have been noon. It could have been noon. It could have been noon. I just wasn't ready. I was not prepared. I spent a good part of the noon hour. You ready for this, ladies? Naked in a steaming hot shower, trying to just get rid of everything that's inside of me so that I could bring to you at 1 p.m. these dulcet tones. All right, so let's get started. It is the High Noon Show. We do this every Monday through Friday at noon. Don't let today fool you. We do it Monday through Friday at noon till whenever. And what do we do here? Well, we like to go through all of the things that make today. So we take the date. Today's date is the 14th day of November, okay? All right, so what happened on this day throughout history? Why is the 14th day of November memorable, and what might we be able to expect from the coming hours based upon what we know about the history of the day? So we run through a little bit of the history of the day, then we run through some births. We talk about some people who are celebrating birthdays today. We talk about their contributions. We decide, whether or not they're good or bad people. Usually they're good people because I try to put optimistic things out there. And if I'm compiling the list, I'm probably not going to put a whole lot of Hitler dudes in there, but you know what I mean? Then we mourn some passings. The third stage, history, births, and then passings. We go through the passings of people who made contributions, who left us on this day. And then and only then, when I am completely satisfied that we all, not just you, but me as well, have a firm understanding of what this day in history has meant, then and only then do we move into the day's topics. Then do we tell you what events are shaping this particular day in history. Are you ready? Did you digest all that? Do you understand what the purpose of this show is? Okay, so welcome to High Noon. It is the 14th day of November. The 14th day of November is coincidentally the 318th day of the year. I don't know why that's coincidentally. I just said that word because it popped into my head and it came out on my tongue. No excuse for it. There are 47 days remaining until the end of the year. And yeah, I'm a little bit wigged out on cold medication. So if I seem a little weird, that's going to be why. Let's go through some of the history on this day. On this day in 1889, pioneering female journalist Nellie Bly, aka Elizabeth Cochrane, begins a successful attempt to travel around the world in less than 80 days. She completes the trip in 72. All right. I had sounded, I don't know what. Is that a big thing? I've never heard of that before. I've heard of Nellie Bly, but I thought she was like a cowgirl. Like I thought she was like a gunslinging cowgirl. Like before this morning when I put the list together, if you'd gone, "Hey Pugs, who's Nellie Bly?" And I go, "She was friends with Calamity Jane." I just that's just what I thought. Turns out now she's a journalist, and we'll mention her because women. On this day in 1910, aviator Eugene Burton Ely performs the first ever takeoff from a ship. He did this in Hampton Roads, Virginia. He took off from a makeshift deck on the USS Birmingham in a Curtiss Pusher. The Curtiss Pusher. I don't know what that is. Plane. Apparently it's a plane, popular plane of the day. So this is interesting. So this was the first so they just put a big platform on a big old boat and they said, "Hey, I wonder if we can take off and land a plane from there." And they did it. And it was on this day. And now we got aircraft carriers. Hey, you want to know a fun fact? Here's a fun fact that people don't know. Excuse me. Of course, I am born and raised in the Great Lakes region of this country. And did you know that the largest World War II aircraft burial ground is right off the beaches of Chicago, right? That's right. That's right. You know why? Because during World War II, when they first started thinking, hey, we could have aircraft carriers. We could probably land planes on boats. What they did was they did that in Chicago. They did that in Lake Michigan. They practiced in Lake Michigan. So they built the very first boat landing platforms out there in Lake Michigan, just off Navy Pier in Chicago. And a whole bunch of them crashed. Like they'd never done it before. Like this guy on this day, aviator Eugene Burton Ely, he did it on this day in 1910. But then in the ramp up to World War II and during World War II, when we were trying to train American pilots to land on boat, they did it in Lake Michigan, and a whole bunch of planes now at the bottom of Lake Michigan. Whole bunch of planes missed the deck. Whole bunch of planes hit the deck and then went over. They're just a lot of people died too. Actually, I don't know if people died. I just know that scuba divers and stuff, that's a big thing to go down and pick among the remains of remains. That's wrong because I'm sure they got the people out. But the planes, the sunken planes that are all down there. On this day in 1922, the British Broadcasting Company begins radio service in the United Kingdom. Oh, what a day for the people of Great Britain. I normally wouldn't mention this, but I just finished the latest season of The Crown on Netflix. Finished it over the weekend, much to my son's chagrin. He didn't want none of that. He's like, "What is this?" And I go, "Well, this is Lady Diana." "Who's that other lady?" "Well, she's talking to Princess Margaret." "Well, why are you watching this?" "Well, because it's history." "This doesn't look like history." "No, this is kind of soap opera. You're right on that." But I finished the season of The Crown. Fantastic. Oh my God, do I love The Crown. I'll tell you. And anyway, the BBC played a prominent role in The Crown this season, because it was all about, the season was all about first the Andrew Morton book. Andrew Morton was the first guy to write a book about Princess Diana. No royals had ever, been put on record and she wasn't even put on record. He said that Andrew Morton, for the Diana book, said that he interviewed a bunch of her friends, but the reality is that Diana answered all of his questions and then recorded them on tape and then sent them to him, and then he wrote the book. It basically was Diana's story. And after that came the Martin Bashir interview. The Martin Bashir interview took place on the BBC, where Diana sat down while she was still Diana, princess, heir apparent, whatever, queen to be, when she sat down with Martin Bashir, the BBC, and she just basically talked all about how, I think, wasn't that there are three people in this marriage? I think that's anyway. The BBC, very, very major plot line in this season's The Crown, because they were conflicted. The BBC exists because the Queen allows them to exist. They exist every year on a Queen's charter, where they have to go to her And they have to be like, can we keep broadcasting on your airwaves, my lady? And she goes, yes. So they were afraid that like the BBC doing the Diana interview was going to torpedo the royal family. And it was a big thing. So, but anyway, on this day in 1922, the BBC radio company begins broadcasting all over the United Kingdom. On this day in 1957, the Appalachian Meeting. Oh, do you guys know what the Appalachian Meeting was? Because it happened on this day. It was awesome. It's been depicted in a number of films. It's been depicted in so many films that I've seen. I can't even tell you what films the Appalachian Meeting was depicted in. Actually, the best rendition, I guess you could say, of a Appalachian tribute homage was in The Godfather 3. Remember in The Godfather 3 when all the heads of the mafia families come together at the casino in Atlantic City, and Joey Zaza brings the helicopter and like floats the helicopter outside the boardroom where all the heads of the mafia are, and then Joey Zaza. Joe Mantegna's Joey Zaza was one of the best things about Godfather 3. And let me tell you, there is a new version of The Godfather 3 that is out there, and I forgot what it's called. But it's a new version that was released like a year or so ago. And it's Francis Ford Coppola's, the way he wanted the film to be. You know, I guess there were some so it's a little bit longer, but man, is it good. It's good. I'm sorry. I know that we're all programmed to be like, Godfather 3 sucks. First of all, when judged against every other film ever made in Hollywood, Godfather 3 does not suck. Maybe when you are comparing it to The Godfather, which is considered the greatest film ever made, then maybe you can say it's not as good. But on no level does The Godfather 3 suck as a movie. I mean, there are movies that suck. You ever seen Carrot Top's Chairman of the Board? Yeah. That movie sucks. Godfather 3 doesn't suck. Godfather 3 may not have lived up to your expectations based upon your love and admiration for Godfather 1 and 2, but it doesn't suck. Anyway, the new version certainly doesn't suck. So the Appalachian Meeting took place on this day in 1957, and it was a meeting that occurred between the five families of New York and the outfit in Chicago. And that's a couple of other fringe cities, but the major players at the the major players in American crime throughout that period were what was still at the time known as the Capone family or the outfit in Chicago, and then the five families of New York. And they all got together up in the Appalachians at one of these dudes' summer homes or whatever. And they had a big meeting about, let's all work together. Let's really get organized crime. And it got raided. It got raided because a bunch of people in the small town where the meeting was taking place started to notice that over the course of the weekend, there were a whole bunch of black Cadillacs with New York plates suddenly in their little town of like 10 people. So the local police were like, this is kind of weird. Why aren't we seeing all these Goomba types at Jed's filling station this weekend? So then the local police called the FBI and they said, hey, we got a whole bunch of like weird, we're thinking there might be something going on. These guys look like connected guys. And the FBI said, well, give us the plates. And so the local police started writing down the plate numbers of all these New York cars that they saw in this little town. And the FBI went, oh my God, those are the leaders of the five family. So it was that whole thing. That's what happened. And then they busted it. It's a great, great little piece of American folklore. It is just a tremendous. I mean, if you like the cowboy stuff, that's fine. There's great stories here. But if you like the gangster stuff, this is one of those. This is like the OK Corral of great American gangster folklore. The Appalachian Meeting. We'll just give you a little bit of a rundown on what it actually was. The Appalachian Meeting was a historic summit of the American mafia held at the home of mobster Joseph Joe the Barber Barbera. It happened in Appalachian, New York on November 14th, 1957. Allegedly, the meeting was held to discuss various topics, including loan sharking, narcotics, trafficking, and gambling, along with dividing the illegal operations controlled by the recently murdered Albert Anastasia. An estimated 100 mafioso from around the United States, Italy, and Cuba are thought to have attended the meeting. And that never happens. These dudes never appear in the same room with one another. They don't. They have their families and then they have their envoys and all that kind of stuff. But the bosses never all get together. That's why this is big, because it was all the big bosses. More than 60 underworld bosses were detained and indicted following the raid. 20 of those who attended the meeting were charged with conspiracy to obstruct justice. Who was there? Let's see here. Actually, you know what? It doesn't matter. Let's just go to in popular culture where we may have seen it. The Appalachian Meeting is described in the book and depicted in the movie version of the Valachi Papers. The Appalachian Meeting was very loosely depicted in the 1959 film Inside the Mafia. Narration near the beginning of the 1990 Martin Scorsese movie Goodfellas mentions it was a glorious time before Appalachian, before Crazy Joe. Okay, so there's the mention in Goodfellas. The Appalachian Meeting is depicted in the opening scene of the gangster comedy film Analyze This. The Appalachian Meeting was depicted in the 2019 film Mob Town, and there's a whole bunch of other things. All right, there you go. It's a really cool story. You read the Wikipedia page. You know, when you have your next movement, you know, maybe this afternoon around 3:00, you're going to head off to the bathroom at the office. Just at the Appalachian, just read about it. It's pretty interesting if you like cool gangster stories. On this day in 1969, the Apollo program launched Apollo 12, the second crewed mission to the surface of the moon. You weren't 11, you were 12. Nobody cared about you. On this day in 1973, in the United Kingdom, Princess Anne marries Captain Mark Phillips in Westminster Abbey. And let me tell you, having just finished watching The Crown, Princess Anne, who is the daughter of Queen Elizabeth, she is, I think she's the second eldest. I think it's Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward. I believe those are the Queen's children. Princess Anne was not happy married to Captain Mark Phillips. There were problems. Well, there are problems in all the marriages, actually. I think that the character of Princess Anne and the character of Princess Margaret, the Queen of England's daughter and the Queen of England's little sister, are two of the most fun characters in The Crown. These are people who have been born into immense luxury, wealth, influence, and that's it. That's their entire lives. Princess Margaret and Prince Anne, no expectations. They're not allowed to do anything other than be the Princess Margaret and Princess Anne. So they just developed real biting and sarcastic senses of humor, and they would just sit on the couch during all these big family meetings, and, you know, the Queen and Charles or whatever, they'd be discussing very important things. And then you'd have the likes of Anne and Margaret just taking cheap shots, just lobbing they're funny characters. Particularly Helena Bonham Carter's depiction of Princess Margaret. Fantastic. She's great. Although I also like young Margaret. I like young 1960s Margaret that was like running around with the Rolling Stones and stuff. That was in season 1 of The Crown. She's fun too. She's fun too. But Princess Margaret, I like Princess Margaret and Princess Anne. The rest of them, not so much. Although I will say this, and I won't go on anymore about The Crown, but I did just finish watching the 5th season. Made to feel very uncomfortable that they made Prince Andrew kind of likable. They made Prince Andrew kind of a dude, kind of a good dude. And we know that Prince Andrew probably, more than likely, was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein who had sex with children. So, people are complicated. Let's see here. In 1982, on this day, Lech Walesa, the leader of Poland's outlawed Solidarity movement, is released after 11 months of internment near the Soviet border. I only mention this because, where I grew up in Chicago as a kid, this was 1982. I remember this. This was a massive story for years because there were so many Polish people in Chicago. The story and the struggle of Lech Walesa, who all these years later, he was a union leader who was anti-Soviet government. He was trying to free the people. He was a working man. He was trying to gather the working forces of Poland and step up and stand tough against communism. That was a huge story in Chicago. But I don't think Lech Walesa is a name that's known outside of like big Polish areas, because obviously it was a big deal, with all the big, but yeah, there you go. Anyway, Lech Walesa, I mentioned him because of that. Let's do some birthdays here. There were a couple of mass shootings, but A couple of births to talk about. Brian Keith was born on this day in 1921. Do you know who Brian Keith is? Brian Keith is Uncle Bill from Family Affair. Nope, you're not as old as me. That means nothing to you. Family Affair was one of the early syndicated shows from the 1970s. It was on, I don't know, if you were homesick from school, you might catch it at like 8:30 in the morning on your local, station that played reruns. And it was just on forever. For like the 1970s, it was the story of two kids, Buffy and Jody, little adorable kids, who I'm not entirely certain, but they had undergone some just unimaginable trauma. They were, whatever happened to these kids, it was never really addressed in the show, but there had to have been a reason why these two adorable little kids were not living with their mother and father, but instead were living with their bachelor uncle, Uncle Bill, played by the birthday boy, Brian Keith. And Uncle Bill was like, this was a theme back in this era where they were trying to say, see, because I guess divorce was becoming, and people were like, well, fathers that can't raise kids. So there was a number of shows that depicted single dads showing that they could raise kids. You had My Three Sons. Wait, did I do the My Three Sons theme when I was doing Family Affair? What's My Three Sons? What's Family Affair? I think I was doing My Three Sons. That's My Three Sons. That is not Family Affair. Ugh. My apologies. It's got to be the cold medicine. So there were all these shows that were like depicting men being able to, I can raise a kid. You women want jobs. Fine. We'll take your children from you. That was kind of like the whole thing. You had Family Affair where you had Mr. Douglas raising his kids, but he wasn't raising his kids. Uncle Charlie was raising the kids. Let's not pretend like, Fred McMurray in My Three Sons was raising the kids. That was all Uncle Charlie. And then you had Courtship of Eddie's Father. People, let me tell you about my best friend, Bill Bixby, little Brandon Cruz. They were father and son. Again, something traumatic happened. This child has been through something, and they never addressed it. It was just, hey, let's make this single dad who's a photographer and, banging strippers and models and, party boy. Let's depict him as a father. But again, he didn't raise that kid. Mrs. Livingston raised the kid. Mrs. Livingston was the live-in replacement for the mom. And then, of course, you get to Brian Keith in Family Affair. Brian Keith, he seemed to me to be just hungover all the time. If you remember the show Family Affair, Brian Keith is Uncle Bill. He never wanted to talk. He was nice. Like, he was a nice dude. Like, he was nice to the kids. But he wasn't loving. He wasn't warm. He was gruff. He always seemed like he didn't want to be bothered. And, he didn't raise the kids either. Mr. French did. That's right. The big fat butler, the Mr. French with the English accent. So none of the shows that I mentioned here that were supposed to show how independent a man can be, he can raise a child, all three of these shows had unrealistic depictions of what it's really like for a single father. You had Uncle Charlie, you had Mrs. Livingston in Courtship of Eddie's Father, and you had Mr. French in Family Affair. All right, we got more birthdays to celebrate. Born on this day in 1927, McLean Stevenson. Yeah, he left famously. He walked away from MASH at the height of the television series success and said, I'm going to go be a movie star. And it didn't work. A couple years later, he had Hello, Larry, which was a show that ran for like 10 episodes that I liked. And then he did a bunch of Love Boats, and then he passed away. McLean Stevenson, celebrating a birthday. Born today in 1929, Jimmy Pearsall, Fear Strikes Out. One of the first books I ever read. Fear Strikes Out, the baseball book about the life of Jimmy Pearsall. Jimmy Pearsall was a baseball player for the Boston Red Sox who was insane. By all modern estimations, he was bipolar, he was schizophrenic, he had severe trauma in his life inflicted on him by his father, portrayed in the film Fear Strikes Out by Karl Malden. Jimmy Pearsall would go on his baseball career. He was a terrific baseball player, but his career was upended because he was nuts, because he was crazy. He was institutionalized and like all of these things, all these terrible things. And he was depicted as a bad guy because we didn't understand mental health back then. And so back then, Jimmy Pearsall was just a piece of garbage, blah, blah, blah. Then when I became a young man, those things that I just told you, those happened in the 1950s and the 1960s when he was a young man playing baseball. Back in the 1970s, my Chicago White Sox, as I was a young, emerging baseball fan, probably 5, 6, 7 years old, watching the games with my grandpa. The White Sox teamed crazy, not on his meds, because meds don't even exist in 1975. Jimmy Pearsall teamed play-by-play for Chicago White Sox games with Harry Carey, and they became the greatest, most entertaining baseball play-by-play team of all time, because Harry Carey was Harry Carey. Hey, we all know Harry Carey. Harry Carey's drunk by the fourth inning. He's a big ball of love and sunshine. Everybody loves Harry. Harry is so much fun to call a game. You're not going to get much launch angle talk out of Harry. You're not going to get much wins against replacement talk, but that's okay, because those things weren't really factors in 1975, 76, 77, 78, 79, when Pearsall and Harry Carey were doing White Sox games. But you had Harry, and then you had and Jimmy Pearsall was still a little crazy. I mean, he at this point knew he had problems, and he was trying to deal with it as best they did in the 1970s. But oh my God, happy birthday, Jimmy Pearsall. You were my favorite. Jimmy Pearsall and Harry Carey calling Southside Hitmen games around 1978. That is when I'm in heaven and I turn on the radio, that's what I'm going to hear. I'm going to hear Harry Carey and Jimmy Pearsall calling an Eric Soderholm home run from 1978. Happy birthday, Jimmy Pearsall. He died too. He died a few years ago. Ed White, American engineer and astronaut. We like to honor all the astronauts on this show, and especially if you're from the Gemini, Apollo, or Mercury programs. And Ed White, you check those boxes. So happy birthday to you. Commander Ed White, born on this day in 1930. P.J. O'Rourke, born on this day in 1947. P.J. died in 2022, just last year. P.J. O'Rourke had cancer. He was one of the great insurgent writers of Rolling Stone back in the days of, the Hunter S. Thompson Rolling Stone and Ben Fong Torres and all of those guys, that staff, that really killer staff that Jan Winter put together in the 1970s that turned Rolling Stone from, which was basically just like a Tiger Beat, into Time magazine of its era. P.J. O'Rourke would later, in his later life, become a right-wing Republican champion. He was very, and he remained at Rolling Stone. He's a legend at Rolling Stone. Very funny guy. P.J. O'Rourke was very funny. Anytime he was on a panel discussing politics or popular culture, he was really great. So happy birthday to P.J. O'Rourke, born on this day in 1947. A couple people who were born, one was born in 61, the other one was born in 62. Well, if you had pulled me aside in 1994 and said, who do you think's going to be major superstars in the next 10 years? I'd have said D.B. Sweeney, who was born on this day in 1961. And I might have even said Laura San Giacomo, who was born this day in 1962. Those were people that had a moment. They had a moment where they were big time, on the precipice of being major stars kind of deals. And then it didn't happen for them. Born on this day in 1964. Of all the people that I've ever interviewed, multiple times, who've become sort of tangentially attached to a show that I was doing, this guy is possibly my favorite. Ralphie May. I loved Ralphie. Ralphie was so great. Okay, so it's going to come down to either my favorite all-time, like if you walk in and you say, who do we have on the show today? And you were to say, well, Ralphie May is going to come by. That was always like, oh, I love it when Ralphie comes by. Or we've got, or if I heard this, we've got Patrick Warburton. Oh, Patrick Warburton is celebrating a birthday today, born on this day in 1964. Patrick Warburton is one of the coolest guys I've ever met in Hollywood. He is just so unaffected by it all. Okay, so who's Patrick Warburton? Putty. First of all, he's Putty from Seinfeld, right? He's the Tick. He does what does he do? State Farm commercials or rental car commercials or whatever. He's the man's man. He's walking around looking for his car. He talks like he's the cool. First of all, if you love those characters, that's kind of who he is, with a little bit more of a wink and a nod. Like in real life, he will give you all the Putty that you want. If you're talking to Patrick Warburton and you want Putty, he's gonna turn into Putty. He's so great. He's so awesome. And Unlike my mansplaining partner, Dr. Robert Schwartz, who only dreamed of being an international male photo model, Patrick Warburton got his start in Hollywood as an international male catalog model. So there you go. Born on this day in 1967. Oh, another one of my favorite people, Nina Gordon. Nina Gordon, born on this day in 1967. Nina Gordon and Louise Post, of course, Veruca Salt. Veruca Salt. God, I love Veruca Salt. I have seen Veruca Salt about as much as I have. Nah, that's not true. Well, they were so big when I was when I was working at the alternative rock station in Chicago, Q101. Veruca Salt was basically like the house band. They were always doing so. We were always doing something promoting Veruca Salt. Anyway, it's Nina Gordon's birthday. I love Veruca Salt. And not only do I love Veruca Salt, but my 13-year-old son loves Veruca Salt. Doesn't know anything about him. Doesn't know, it didn't have any backstory. Just all of a sudden we're cruising around and I'm playing Volcano Girls or Level Lore, or what. I'm just cranking out some cool ass 1995 Veruca Salt. And my 13-year-old kid is like, Dad, this is great. This is cool. Those riffs are awesome. Yeah, they are, because Louise Post and Nina Gordon knew how to rock as well as anybody. It's a girl band. No, it's not. That's a band. That's a great band. And, sometimes, whatever. Happy birthday to you, Nina Gordon. I love you, Nina Gordon. Oh, and she's so cool. Like, both her and Louise Post are just such cool chicks. Just like to be like in a club or hanging out with them, or just, like whatever the situation is. And because they were always looking for radio airplay. So, when you're coming up in the business and you're on a station in a town that is like the station that is known to break bands, and especially during that time, because we had broken Smashing Pumpkins and Urge Overkill, and God, I can't even think of any of the other ones. There's so many of them that came Stabbing Westward. So many of the bands that came out of Chicago in that particular era, especially the alt rock stuff, which Veruca Salt and Liz Phair and all of them were a part of. They were very nice to us because they wanted us to say nice things about them. So maybe that has something to do with why I think Nina Gordon and Louise Post are so cool. But they're cool chicks. They're just cool chicks. Born on this day in 1972, happy birthday to Josh Duhamel, who I like to call the more handsome Timothy Olyphant. More handsome Josh Duhamel, but less talented. Like in my mind, if I see Josh Duhamel, I have to stop for a second and go, wait, is that Timothy Olyphant? No, that's not Timothy Olyphant. But when I see Timothy Olyphant, I have to go, oh, I love Timothy Olyphant. Wait, is that Josh Duhamel or is that Timothy Olyphant? They're the same person to me. Today, it is, one's way better. One is, Timothy Olyphant is way better at everything than Josh Duhamel, except reflecting in a mirror. I think Josh Duhamel is just a little bit more attractive than Timothy Olyphant, which is not, Timothy Olyphant, women think he's super attractive. And I can see that. I love Justified. Raylan Givens, I'm watching Raylan Givens as a heterosexual man going, I might, I'm telling you, he's a pretty cool guy. But Josh Duhamel's a little bit more attractive. But that's it. He's got nothing. Josh Duhamel's got nothing that Timothy Olyphant wants. Unless Timothy Olyphant wants Fergie, because doesn't Josh Duhamel have Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas? Or are they no longer a thing? I don't know. I can't keep up with all this. Happy birthday to the much decorated Travis Barker. No, I don't mean he's a war hero. I just mean he's covered in his own stupid tattoos. Born on this day in 1975, Travis Barker. Born on this day in 1981. Just a delightful cast member of the past from Saturday Night Live. Born on this day in 1981, Vanessa Bayer. She's so delightful. She totally forgettable. Like, you're probably trying to think who Vanessa Bayer is right now. You're probably going, wait, who is she? She used to do like Miley Cyrus like 10 years ago. She had a big, giant, toothy smile, really good energy. She's nice. Happy birthday, Vanessa Bayer. You seem really nice. And some people who died on this day. Dead on this day in 2003, Gene Anthony Ray. You remember him? Do you remember Gene Anthony Ray? I do. We talked about D.B. Sweeney and Laura San Giacomo. Gene Anthony Ray was supposed to be a major star. He was like everywhere for about 6 months and then nowhere for 20 years until we found out that he died. And that was, he played, who did he play? wasn't it? Leroy in Fame. Remember Fame? I'm gonna live forever. He was in the movie Fame, which was a big hit. And then he jumped over and he was in the TV series Fame, the one that had Janet Jackson and Debbie Allen and a whole bunch of people. But Leroy was like, he was the dancer. He was the black dude with the cornrows who danced. He was the dancer. He was Leroy. He was kind of tough, but a dancer. You know, it's like, hey, Leroy, kick your ass. And you're like, would he, though? I mean, what are we talking about? He seems like a dancer and he hangs out with a bunch of art school kids. Is he scary? No, look at him. He's scary. He's got cornrows and he looks very street. What is street code for? Because he's a black guy that you're afraid of him. He's a dancer. And, he might be sexually experimenting. What are you talking? What's going on here? Why are we afraid? Why are we trying to think? Why are we making Leroy in Fame out to be like, the representative of the streets? He's a classically trained dancer. He does ballet. I don't know that he's. Anyway, Gene Anthony Ray died on this day in 2003. That's tragic. He was about to be a very big star. Also, dead on this day. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Wait, 2003. Fame was in 1980. It's like 20 years later. It was just about to happen for him. No, like he was going to be a big star in the 80s, and then something happened. And then it was just like we saw him in nothing for like 20 years, and then he passed away. But if you remember Fame, Leroy was a big deal. Born on this day. I think you're just a really big fan of Fame. I love Fame. I love the TV show. I don't know why. I liked it. And I hate musicals. I cannot stand musicals. But it wasn't really a musical. And the music was pop hits. And I was 10. And they were songs I knew from the radio. So it didn't seem like, Rodgers and Hammerstein. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a musical to me. But whatever. Dead on this day in 2014, Glenn A. Larson, little doff of the cap, and a shout out to the man who created one of my favorite shows of all time, Glenn A. Larson, creator of Battlestar Galactica. Now, we're not going to give him credit. We're not going to give him credit for the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, which came around about 2004, 2005. That is one of the greatest television series ever made. Not the 1970s Lorne Greene version, which Glenn Larson, who passed away on this day in 2014, created. But, he started the story. The story of the reboot is based on the same story, and it's the same character names. So, Glenn Larson, God bless you, sir. You didn't do the reboot, which was unbelievably good. It's one of the most critically acclaimed shows of the last 20 years, Battlestar Galactica. And people didn't see it. The people who did see it are like, that show's like really good. Yeah, I know it's really good. It's totally great. Look it up. Look at the critical response to the Battlestar Galactica reboot. It's unbelievable. You'll be like, maybe I ought to check this show out. It's dark. It is dark, and it's about the end of humanity. But it is deep. Oh, is it deep? It is such a great show. And it's not like, there's a little bit of that because they're in a war against the Cylons, who are, a race of robots that man created to help them do all their dirty work. And then at some point, the robots, they grew artificial intelligence, and now they're a problem because they don't want to work for us anymore. And there's a whole war going on between humanity, and the Battlestar Galactica is the last ship in the universe, the known universe, with humans on it. Earth has been destroyed, or Caprica, or whatever it was. I don't know. Anyway, I don't have time to go into the whole Battlestar Galactica backstory, but I sing its praises. It's an incredible show. The reboot. All right, let's get into some trends. Let's talk about some of the things that are trending today. Jen Hernandez digging on Veruca Salt. Love Veruca Salt. No. You ever seen the Volcano Girls video? I wanted to. That's the Volcano Girls video is Louise and Nina of Veruca Salt are on like bungee cords. In the whole video, they're just bungeeing. Oh, it's such a cool video. Cool video. Probably been done like 1 million times since. That was the first time that was done. That was the first time we saw that. We were like, man, that's cool. Because videos were still a thing back then. Oh, the dog's here. Hi, dog. Look who just came bouncing in. All right, she just let herself in. Hold on, I got to close it. You want to go? Oh, hold on. It's wet outside, and she just jumped on her chair. Give me a second, folks. Let me... All right, folks, I apologize. The dog just let herself in, and if you know about the weather today, you know that it is rainy and it is gross. And so I had to wipe down the muddy paws before she's allowed to just roam freely here. The Comfort Nest Studios must maintain a certain level of cleanliness, especially on the weekend following my kid. Oh boy, it's like a tornado. All right, let's get into all the things that are trending. I think that we have fully covered the day at hand. Let's talk about what's happening today. How about okay, let's temper it down because we're going to start off with a couple of bad things. There's been a school bus accident in Kentucky. Let's see what the latest is here. 18 students and a driver. It seems to be one vehicle involved. At least that's what I've been seeing. 18 students, driver injured in Kentucky school bus crash. This according to officials. All 18 students and a driver have varying degrees of injuries after their bus crashed in eastern Kentucky Monday morning. No fatalities have been reported. Thank God. Magoffin County School District Superintendent Chris Meadows said in a statement, the students range from elementary to high school, according to the Kentucky Department of Education. That's interesting. I mean, we never had mixed like that. The high school bus was the high school bus, and the elementary school bus was the elementary school bus. Hell, the junior high bus, there was a junior high bus. So. All right, so this is developing ... The injured were taken by helicopter or ambulance. The bus was the only vehicle in the crash. The bus was east of Saylorsville, the county seat, when it left the roadway. There has been a serious bus accident in Magoffin County involving children. Governor Andy Beshear tweeted. Okay, so there you go. That's the big piece of ugly news that's happening. Oh, here's another big piece of ugly news that's happening. Did you guys see this? This University of Virginia situation. CNN's been on it all morning. Apparently there was a mass shooting. It doesn't sound like, again, I mass shootings, that's very general. Like, is it a mass shooting because one dude knew where all the people he wanted to kill were going to be, so he showed up at the backyard party and slayed the rival gang members? Or is this a mass shooting where somebody who didn't take his meds for the past 6 months decided that during Wakanda Forever was the time for him to stand up and just start killing people in a movie theater? See, there's both are mass shootings, but I compartmentalize them differently. One, I just kind of put in my head as, well, that's crime. People are bad. Crime's going to happen. Bad guys going to go after bad guys. Stay away from bad guys. That's the lesson there. I can sort of not rationalize. I can sort of understand that. The other one, crazy guy standing up in the middle of a movie theater and just gunning down innocent strangers. That's the one that freaks me out. This particular University of Virginia situation that's being called a mass shooting seems to fit into the latter. It seems to be the just dudes with beef targeted. I guess an easier way to do it would be targeted versus non-targeted. Like if you're involved in a mass shooting and all the victims were targeted, then that's something that I can understand. Not again, I'm not okay with it. I'm horrified by it, but I can go like, okay, yeah, there's bad people and they get mad at each other and they have access to guns and they're going to kill each other. So that's what happened there. But the non-targeted, the one where it's just, I want to kill everybody, that's the freaky one. That doesn't seem to be the situation here at the University of Virginia. Killed a bunch of football players, on the football team. Alleged UVA murderer. His name is Christopher Darnell Jones. He's been arrested. And he is also a former University of Virginia football player. During a late Monday morning press conference, the University of Virginia police announced that Jones had been taken into custody. It is not known at this moment how Christopher Darnell Jones was captured. The former UVA Cavaliers football player is accused of murdering Deshaun Perry, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Devin Chandler. Now, of these three, Deshaun Perry, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Devin Chandler, all of them are current members of the University of Virginia football team. Lavelle Davis Jr. was a very good wide receiver who was expected to be drafted into the NFL. The shootings occurred Sunday night on University of Virginia's campus, and 2 other people are also injured. Jones had been on the run ever since last night's shooting, and police learned of his capture during a live press conference. While it's still not clear what happened, there's no doubt this was an unspeakable act of evil carried out against 3 young men. There aren't words to describe how horrible and horrific it is. 3 young men have had their lives ended in a sadistic and disturbing way. All right, so I'll tell you basically what happened, because there's not a whole lot of details unless there's been some new ones that have come up here in the last, since we've been on the air. There was a busload of students who were on a field trip on Sunday evening. They went to go see, from the University of Virginia, they went to go see a play in Washington, D.C. on Sunday night. When they returned, when their bus pulled back into the campus and the drop-off point at around 10:30 p.m., that would be 9:30 our time, so 10:30 East Coast time last night, somebody was waiting for the bus when the bus pulled back in. And as these football players exited the bus, they were shot. Boom, 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 by this guy who is now in custody, who, as it turns out, is also a former football player on the team. So again, this doesn't look like, crazy shopping mall guy who's just going to kill everybody indiscriminately. This seems like it was probably targeted. No less a tragedy. I mean, just disgusting, but I don't worry for the greater soul of society when, it's just, these are people who probably had beef and don't have beef with people. If you have beef with people, do whatever you can to work it out, because people are crazy and you don't want to be in these kinds of situations where a crazy person has access to a gun and he's got some beef with you. I don't want that. What else do we have here? Okay, this one. All right, so we'll do this. Did you see this? This is still trending today, and it's only trending because of the hold on, I'll pull this up. I'll show these to you. It's the Dallas Air Show. We know about this, right? And I even hesitate to show the videos, but they are pretty incredible. So over the weekend at the Dallas Air Show, there was an incident. The Dallas Air Show was taking Wings of Wonder or something event, something like that. Just out there in Oak Cliff at Dallas Executive Airport. It happened Saturday afternoon. No, that's not it. No, hold on. Here we go. 2 planes collided, and there's a number of different. Here we go. All right, so here we're looking at it. This is here, I'll pull up the story, so I'll give you everything you need. One is a bomber and one is a single-seated fighter plane. Both of them are old-timey. These are antiques. 6 dead after a pair of vintage military aircraft collide at Texas Air Show. This happened on Saturday afternoon. 6 people are dead. Just here's all you need to know. Everybody in the planes are dead. That accounts for the 6 people. Bless them. 6 people are dead after 2 World War II era military planes collided midair and crashed at Dallas Executive Airport during an air show Saturday afternoon, killing all on board. We can confirm that there are 6 fatalities, a spokesperson for the office told CNN during a phone call. More than 40 fire and rescue units responded to the scene after the 2 vintage planes, a Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress, and a Bell P-63 King Cobra, went down during the Wings over Dallas Air Show. In video footage of the crash, described by Dallas mayor as heartbreaking, the planes are seen breaking apart midair after the collision, then hitting the ground within seconds and bursting into flames. Here are the latest developments from an investigator in the NTSB. So anyway, the NTSB is still looking at it, trying to figure out what happened. But as best as I have been able to glean from reading experts on this subject, people, commenting, I'm a 40-year pilot. I can tell you that he bankrolled hard right. He probably didn't have his altimeter widgets in the proper position because those old-timey planes. People were saying stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't know what any of that means, but you sound like you know. So it seems that it's the guy in, not the Flying Fortress, not the big-ass plane. That dude seems to be doing everything fine. This guy appears to be really bad at this, and this is what happened.
Dios mío! Oh, Dios mío!
Pretty incredible. Do it without the sound, because I think the sound's... There it is. All right, now this is interesting. This is a parachute that didn't... This is the ejection of the pilot of the little plane, and the parachute didn't deploy. Watch how it sort of spindles down. Look at it. It's like he's all wrapped in it. Oh boy. I know it's hard to look at because we know that all of these people have died, but my goodness, what? Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? There are a number of these. Here's another angle. All right, so this is from the whole tail. Look at how just it shears off the tail. This tail section just gets completely sheared off. Look at there it goes. Jeez. And again, here's the parachute that didn't, as they say, catch air. This parachute didn't catch air. It was too low to the ground. Oh, goodness. I mean, look, that's what they love doing, right? So that's what these guys, these are retired pilots. They take place in these air shows because this is their happy place. They love doing it. And they know it's dangerous. Pilots know the shit they're doing is dangerous. So, for them, it doesn't really factor into it. Certainly does for their family members who have to, So it happened quick, right? I mean, it happened quick. They were doing what they love to do, waking up early on a Saturday, bunch of 60-something-year-old former airline pilots who get to come out to these air shows and fly these replica planes. Oh, it's what they live for. So at the very least, it seemed to be quick. And if that's any consolation, you're doing something they love, and it happened very quickly. I don't think anybody suffered. I think that was pretty much said and done. University of Idaho is also trending. University of Idaho is trending today because apparently 4 students were murdered and what seems to be a mass homicide. They were all found in a house in Moscow, Idaho. How do you say that? I have such lack of regard for the state of Idaho. I don't even know how to pronounce it properly. But another unfortunate incident. This occurred this morning. Was it this morning that they found it? University of Idaho, 4 students found dead. Homicide investigation is ongoing. Amazon is trending. Amazon is trending because, just in time for Christmas, their busiest time of the year. Everybody buy your stuff from Amazon. They're firing everybody. They're firing everybody before Christmas. They're getting rid of them. Robot's going to do it all. I don't know what they're doing. Amazon plans to lay off 10,000 employees this week, the largest cuts in the company's history. We're ramping up to like their busy season. This is like where Amazon makes all of their money. People who never use Amazon will use Amazon during the holidays to send gifts. Amazon is reportedly planning a massive wave of layoffs in its corporate and technology division, which should be the largest cuts in the company's history. The New York Times reports the retailer will lay off approximately 10,000 workers, largely in its devices organization, that unit that makes the Echo, the voice assistant Alexa, Kindle, and other consumer products. Other cuts will come in its retail division and human resources. The Times further reported, citing people with knowledge of the matter, all totaled, the company employs more than 1.5 million people. Most of those people are hourly workers. Of course they are. Of course, that's the economy of the modern world. There ain't no security. The timing of the cuts, just as the holiday shopping season gets underway, is unusual and shows growing economic fears among big tech companies. Okay, so there you go. But it doesn't sound like they're laying off the delivery people, the Amazon workers we see all the time, the delivery workers, those smiling, happy people peeing in plastic water bottles on the warehouse floors. They always got their bottle. We're so happy to be working for Amazon. And then they've got like an empty bottle of water. And you're like, why is that bottle empty? Oh, because they're not allowed to take bathroom breaks. I got you. All right. Say no more. Say no more. Please don't fire us, Jeff Bezos. We love working here. I'm going to go pee in this water bottle. I'm going to go pee in this Gatorade bottle. Yeah, pee in a water bottle will probably be difficult. It's a little bit too small of a hole. You're going to mess. You're going to get something on your hands. And if you're not near a real bathroom with a sink, how are you going to wash your hands after you pee all over your hand accidentally? And women, don't even get me started. You women, you got it even tougher. Dave Chappelle is trending. That's right. Dave Chappelle is trending. I don't know how much I want to go into this because I'd like to do it tonight on Pillow Talk with Pugs and Parker. I'd like to listen to the Dave Chappelle monologue. We did it last night on Mansplaining. But Dave Chappelle is being hammered by the Anti-Defamation League because apparently now he's anti-Semitic. And near as I can tell, He wasn't being anti-Semitic during his monologue on SNL. He was making jokes about other people who are known to be anti-Semitic. That is not the same thing as being anti-Semitic. Making fun of the Kanye West situation or the Kyrie Irving situation does not mean that he is saying, yeah, I agree with these guys. He's making fun of it. These are people that were being discussed ad nauseum the last couple of weeks in the American media. And Dave Chappelle is a social commentator. He's a comic. Shut up. No, he's not. He is so much more than a comic. He is a social commentator. 1,000 years from now, it is my hope that somebody, so whatever the human race has morphed into, they find some Dave Chappelle material. And I hope that they watch Dave Chappelle 1,000 years from now and they're like, okay, all right, he did a pretty good job of explaining the craziness that was going on. We can't even recognize the craziness because we're inside it all. It's happening around us constantly at all times, but it does take certain people with different perspectives. And a lot of times it comes in the form of comedians, authors, journalists, whatever, who can somehow elevate themselves to have more of a 30,000 foot view of the situation and offer a perspective and some commentary that we otherwise wouldn't have. And that's what Dave Chappelle is. And if you are concerned about the words of Dave Chappelle, then shut up. Just shut up. You're concerned about words. People are allowed to talk. What kind of fascist mentality is that? You want to stop the way people think and the way people express how they think because it's, I don't know, it makes it uncomfortable for you? Who the hell are you, you fascist? We're going to tear you people. We're coming for you next. People need to be able to speak their mind. This is Maya Angelou, right? Don't we love the Maya Angelou quote? When somebody tells you who they are, believe them. Okay. So you got to let people talk in order to believe that they're really a terrible human or a good human. I'm getting really tight. It's become, and by the way, the Anti-Defamation League, look, they've got their plate full because there are some very real situations going on right now in modern times that they need to be busy with. Dave Chappelle is not one of them. Dave Chappelle, but, they do exist by, public support, and public support is often shown in the form of donations. So a story like this, they almost have to demonize Dave Chappelle to keep reminding everybody that, this is a thing and everybody's anti-Semitic and please donate more money and we're going to keep this fight going because we all know that the Nazis were bad. And, okay, all right, I support the ADL. But I also understand their business model, and I understand how when a Dave Chappelle does what he did on Saturday Night Live, it's in their best interest to say that was bad. In the moment, it's in their best interest because they can then capitalize on the climate of the time and probably get a whole bunch of donations off of it. They're piggybacking off of, something terrible that's going on that they're very active in combating. So I understand that. But being a bit disingenuous. I mean, they're understanding the business model and what they're trying to do. In the real world of what was said and what was done, they're being a bit disingenuous. They know that Dave Chappelle was not saying, and we'll get into this with Parker. That's why I don't want to. Jeff Ballard gets mad when I discuss something on the noon show and then bring it back with Parker. Yeah, I remember that, Jeff. That's like 9 months ago. You talked about this on the noon show. Like, yeah. Because now I want to get Parker's perspective on it. So blame Jeff Ballard for me not going any further on this. But we'll talk about it tonight on the Pillow Talk edition with myself and James Parker, which comes to you every Monday through Thursday evening right here. Same bat time. No, not bat time. Same bat channel, radiomisfits.org at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. Pugs and Parker. I want to get into the Dave Chappelle thing tonight. Gettysburg College. Here's one. There's another one. I don't want to get into this with Parker though, because this is a bit more. It's not that it's nuanced, but I don't know. Gettysburg College. Ever heard of it? I haven't. Every now and again, these new. It's like during the Olympics opening ceremonies when they have the parade of nations, where you play that game where it's like, never heard of that country before. That's a new country. Without fail, every time I watch the Parade of Nations at the Olympics, a new country is unveiled to me. Wow, that's a country? I never even heard of that. How do you pronounce that? That's its own country. All right, they got an Olympic team, and it's just like one sad dude carrying a flag. It's like they got one guy. That's how I feel about colleges. Like every so often, something bad will happen at a college, and I'll go, that's a college now. Okay, I never heard of Gettysburg College, but here we go. Gettysburg College, folks, has postponed events for people who are tired of white cis men. Oh, boy. Here we go. Gettysburg College. Gettysburg College had an event, and the event was for people who were tired of white cis men. So cis means straight, right? So the college was having a pep rally where they could all get together and they could talk about how they're so tired of white cis men. Gettysburg College stepped in and went, yeah, you know what? You can't do that. Because you can't do that, you pieces of shit. You can't. If your problem, seriously, what if I wanted Gettysburg College? Somebody's going to go, well, I want to have an event where I'm going to talk about how tired I am of white Jewish men. Let's do that. Let's have a big rally. It's going to be all about white Jewish men. Or Jewish straight men, or what if you did black cis men? We're going to do a rally where we're all going to get together and we're going to talk about how much we hate black cis. You can't do that, folks. This is not progress. This is like some weird vengeance play. And of course, it's poorly formed college kids who don't have life experience or the emotional stability to really properly process all that's going on, who is fucking it all up. That's what they're doing. A bunch of dumb college kids. We should be able to just murder white men. Good idea there, sophomore. Good idea. Gettysburg College has postponed a painting and writing event hosted by its Gender, Sexuality, and Resource Center for people. This is who the event was for. The event was for people who are tired of white straight men. All right, let them have that party. And let's get all their names. Let's do what the FBI did with the Appalachian thing. Let's take down all the plate numbers. Let's start a file on these people. Oh, now who sounds like a fascist? Hey, if these people are openly gathering to talk about how much they hate another segment of the American citizenry, I think that it's important we keep an eye on them. Would you not want to do that if there was a bunch of men getting together talking about how much they hate gay dudes? Right? Hey, let's get together at the bar and let's hold a rally where we all talk about how much we hate gay dudes, right? You'd probably want to keep an eye on those folks. So why is it any different because the target is white men? I mean, look, I understand the historical, but it's been a power imbalance. That's fine. But that doesn't make the exclusion or the humiliation or the tearing down of another group of people reasonable. Doesn't make it right. Well, but the white man has been bad for so long. Now it's his turn. No, that's vengeance. That's not justice. You're now wading in a pool of vengeance. And can we all just take the middle ground here and go, how about we all work towards being better towards one another and not having painting parties where people are encouraged to make posters about how much they hate straight white men? The college stepped in and said, you know what? This is fucking dumb. You can't do this. Why did this get approved? And the college said it's over. So thank you to the folks at Gettysburg College. The private Pennsylvania college offered the event as part of a peace and justice project, but has since postponed it after the details of the event were shared online. Oh, it got out. And then they're like, oh boy, our secret. The event, originally scheduled for Saturday, November 12th, told people to come paint and write about how they're tired of straight white men. Can't do that, man. That's not justice. That's vengeance. There is a difference between justice and vengeance. Justice is everyone, we all acknowledge that there have been some things that went down, and that now as modern people, we are going to commit ourselves as one, unified, to moving forward and not repeating the mistakes of the past. That's what the pursuit of justice looks like. This is fucking vengeance. This is let's just get him, which means you are no better than the worst white man that you're imagining. You are no better. You are a human piece of shit just like he is. So thank you to Gettysburg College. All right, I'm done ranting on that. I don't want to get into that with Parker. I just think with Parker it would take an ugly turn. I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. I want to say what I feel about that situation without anybody else going, yeah, and that's why, I don't need add-ons. I don't need add-ons to it's a very sensitive subject. And whenever I, as a middle-aged straight white man, talks about it, I like to be in complete control of the narrative. It's not a conversation I want to have with anyone. I want to be the one who says exactly what I mean to say. Don't want it. It happens. All right. Here's something else that's happening. This is nuts. Knew this was coming. I woke up and I was so upset. I mean, not upset. There were things. I like to think that I'm pretty well informed. I like to think that I'm moderately well educated. I like to think that I have a life experience. I've had wins and I've had losses that has shaped me inside at this ripe old age to be a fairly compassionate, empathetic, and understanding guy. With that said, I am so angry at Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson is trending. I knew this. Actually, I don't even know if I should be mad at Pete Davidson. You know who I'm mad at? I'm mad at Ariana Grande. That's who I'm mad at. Ariana Grande started this nonsense with Pete Davidson. Why is Pete Davidson trending? Pete Davidson is trending because, oh God. So he's no longer with Kim Kardashian. Oh God. Yeah, I wanted him to be with Kathy Bates. I thought that would have been. I thought if Pete Davidson wants to start dating anybody right now, he should start dating Kathy Bates. He should just completely. But no, that's not what he's doing. You know who Pete Davidson's dating? Pete Davidson is now dating Emily Ratajkowski. Yeah, Blurred Lines hot chick. Remember that? Wasn't it Usher and Robin Thicke Blurred Lines video? Emily Ratajkowski, probably, if we're talking about modern girls, modern models, she's like the most beautiful. She's like the most beautiful modern model in the world. How did Pete Davidson, who looks like the guy picked last for dodgeball, skinny, emaciated, sunken, hollow, junky appeal, how did Pete Davidson, a guy... You guys, why do I blame Ariana Grande? Because before Ariana Grande, I don't even know if I'm saying that, Grande, I don't know. I'm neither a pedophile or a 20-year-old girl. I don't know who she is. I've seen her and I've gone, okay, divert your eyes. She's too young. She just looks like a child. I don't, but I can see how, Ariana Grande anointed Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson was nothing. Pete Davidson was a funny guy who did 1 or 2 sketches a week on Saturday Night Live. He was a nobody. He was like a total underperforming cast member of Saturday Night Live. He was dating Cassie David. Cassie David was his girlfriend who he broke up with to start dating Ariana Grande. Cassie David is a beautiful girl. If you find pictures of Cassie David, she's Larry David's daughter. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Cassie David is Larry David's daughter. She's a comedy writer in the New York scene. Very cute. Very cute. Any one of us would be just tickled pink to hold her hand on a Saturday night. Perfect, all-American, cute, adorable, normal girl. Cute enough to work at the Gap. I'll put it to you that way. How's that? There you go. Cute enough to work at the Gap. That's what she was. And then Ariana Grande shows up and she's like, nope, you're no longer dating women who are at your level. You are now going to be elevated to dating nothing but princesses. And it has been a stream of Ariana Grande into Kate Beckinsale, I know I'm missing people, into Kim Kardashian, and now he's got Emily Ratajkowski. He keeps upping the ante. So that's why Pete Davidson is trending, because apparently he's dating Emily Ratajkowski now, and I just don't see it. I don't see it. He owes everything to Ariana Grande. She anointed him. She made him. She put him in a dating league that other women who would never have looked at him twice now looked at Pete Davidson and went, well, he got Ariana Grande, and she dates the same kind of guys that we date. So Ariana Grande, she did it. Ariana Grande did it. And you know what? Good for Pete. I got no malice. I got no hate for Pete. I know it upsets me. It upsets me because I don't understand it. I got no hatred for Pete. God love you, kid. You go for it. This was just a bevy of riches that were dropped at your feet. What? You're supposed to say no? No, I want to go back to dating that hot girl who works at the bar on the corner of my house. I don't want to date Emily Ratajkowski. Right? No one's turning it down. No hate, Pete. No hate. But if I'm being honest, I don't think you're like all that. I don't get you. I don't like. I think you're funny. I do. I find you amusing, but not to the level that like people say Pete Davidson is like the greatest performer in the history of Saturday Night Live. I'm like, what? What are you? Are you people out of your mind? He was never even the greatest performer on any cast that he was a part of. Pete Davidson was funny. He was an outlier. He was kind of a weirdo, kind of an interesting, kind of a loose cannon. That's what he was. But he has gotten better, though. I will say this: he has gotten better. I saw that movie he did, King of Staten Island, and I watched it. And I finished watching it, and I went, "Huh? Okay, maybe Pete Davidson could be an actor because he was really good in that." So whatever. God love you, Pete. I'm tired. I just acknowledge, Pete, with me right now. Just acknowledge that Ariana Grande just put you in a different category of dateable. She took you from dating Cassie David, who is a writer. Well, she's a writer. She's a bookish and probably, scratches her head with a pencil and kind of gross at times. Writers are kind of gross. So you went from that to Ariana Grande, who, if I'm guessing, she probably travels the country in one of those like Barbie doll cases. She's just in there perfect all the time. And then they open up. That ain't what he came from. He came from like, chain smoking, coffee drinking writer girl to Ariana Grande. God love you. Jealous? Maybe. But I'll tell you the one that got me. Obviously, Kim got me because of my long-standing friendship with Kim Kardashian. Kate Beckinsale really got me. Like, Kate Beckinsale. Sure, we can blame Ariana Grande for all of this because Ariana Grande is the initial person who elevated Pete Davidson into a dating realm that he doesn't belong in. But it was then Kate Beckinsale who confirmed it. It was like after, like Kate Beckinsale, I expect if there was going to be a confirmation, I would expect it to come from, some, I don't even know. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. Some other, not Kate Beckinsale. Kate Beckinsale, you're a legit older cougar, award-winning and beloved actress. You're not like a disposable pop icon of the moment like Ariana Grande could have been classified as back in the time. You're Kate Beckinsale. And you swoop in and now you're holding hands with him at Knicks games and you're seeing kissing over spaghetti in Italian restaurants. What? Why did you do that? And then after that, it was like Kim Kardashian. I guess Kim Kardashian just went, well, Kate Beckinsale and Ariana Grande have already been with him. It's obviously not an embarrassment for me. And then forget about it. Now it's Emily Ratajkowski. Can you see? I obsess on this. I could do an entire 1-hour show on this very subject, and I won't. Tyson and Holyfield are trending together. Why are Tyson and Holyfield trending together? Well, because they're going in the pop business together. That's right. Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. Mike Tyson, who famously bit off Evander Holyfield's ear in a boxing match back in the 90s. They're buddies now, and they're in the weed business. Mike Tyson has his weed company, Tyson 2.0. And he has teamed up with Evander Holyfield. He's going to get Evander Holyfield into the weed business with his own Evander Holyfield brand, which is going to be under the umbrella of the Tyson 2.0. That's right. Evander Holyfield is now going to be selling edible holy ears. That's right. They're like gummy ears with weed in it. They're like weed gummies, but they're shaped as Evander Holyfield's ears. So now you can buy. Look at Mike Tyson. Like, I got an idea. What's the idea?
I thought maybe I could just like make some gummy bears, just shape them like warrior ears, and then you could sell them, and then the people will because they'll be delicious.
Yeah, that's probably how it went. And Holyfield was like, I ain't doing nothing. And Mike Tyson's like,
I got the weed company.
That'd be awesome. And then he probably went, you know what? Okay, why not? I'll take a flyer on that. And let me tell you, if I'm ever in a store, a legal cannabis shop, where they have Evander Holy Ears gummies, I promise to buy one. That's right. I promise to buy one because I like it. I like it when two guys who are legendary adversaries bit his ear off. By the way, if you're old like me, he didn't bit his ear off once. He bit his ear off twice. That happened twice. People are like, yeah, remember when Tyson bit Holyfield's ear? Yeah, I remember when he did it the first time, and I remember when he did it the second time. It was the craziest thing. Have you guys ever seen that? it was like, okay, so Tyson didn't have it. Tyson did not have it in this fight. Tyson, who seemed to be like the most unstoppable boxer of his era, possibly of all time, Tyson did not have it in this fight. He was going through some stuff. Holyfield was winning the fight. So Tyson started to tie him up in the center of the ring. And Tyson would tie him up so that Holyfield couldn't get any distance and throw any punches. And then Tyson would bury his face, because Holyfield was taller. Tyson would bury his face in sort of the nape of Holyfield's neck. And they're doing this, and the referee separates them, and then they immediately come back, and Tyson clinches with him again, and then they separate, and then they clinch again. And then all of a sudden, Evander Holyfield shoves Tyson back and grabs his ear, and the ref steps in, and there's this confusion as to what happened, and Holyfield can be heard saying, "He just bit my ear. He just bit my ear." And I don't remember if there was blood or anything, but the referee didn't see it, so it was like, okay, whatever, and come back together. And they came back together, and they immediately clinched again, and within like a second, Holyfield jumps up in the air, holding his ear. There is now like blood coming. Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield in the ear. Holyfield stopped the fight, told the ref, "He just bit me in the ear." The ref said, "I didn't see it." They came back together. Tyson immediately bit his ear off. Immediately. Not even like, "I didn't do it." Like, he wasn't even trying to be sheepish about it. It's crazy. Bit his ear twice. Let's see here. Christmas Story house. You know, the house that Ralphie lived in? That house is for sale. What do you think it's for? What do you think that Christmas Story house goes for? Beautiful house. Like, if you like that movie, Christmas Story, what a great house. What a great old-timey 1950s, probably built in the 1920s. Iconic house used to film A Christmas Story is up for sale in Cleveland. It's in a Cleveland neighborhood, and I bet you it's in a really expensive Cleveland neighborhood. Because anytime you see a house like that, wait a second, maybe it's not, because I'm seeing prices here that I'm like, what? This is a plot twist even for Ralphie. The iconic Christmas Story house in Cleveland is up for sale. Now, the series was actually set within the universe of the Christmas Story. It was set in Northwest Indiana. It was supposed to be a town just outside Chicago. It's supposed to be like based on Hammond, Indiana, but I think they called it Hammond, Indiana, the town, or Hamo, something like that. It was like a version. The dude who wrote it grew up in Hammond, Indiana, but the actual house was in Cleveland. Let's see. The setting for the beloved holiday movie has been transformed into a museum and a bed and breakfast in recent years. Film buff Brian Jones purchased the house for $150,000 on eBay in 2004. Okay, all right, that's not a lot, even in 2004. Along with the Bumpus house next door, a museum, gift shop across the street, and some other nearby lots are up for sale. A large for sale sign is already outside of the home that comes complete with a fragile leg lamp in the front window. Well, it better. What are they asking? I just want to see what they're asking for. Who's selling the Christmas Story house? The home sale is being handled by Hoff and Lee Real Estate. There's no price tag. All right, so they're not asking for. What a cute little house. Here, I'll show it to you, just so we know what we're talking about. Bum, 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 bum. It's getting to be Christmas. It's beginning to feel not really much like Christmas, but there's a lot of Christmas lights and stuff that are up. So, like when I have to go into 97 Wood the Freak, the iHeart Studios, it's across from the Galleria. Galleria has all their Christmas lights up. All right, let's look at the house. Let's see what the house looks like now. There it is. Look at that. That's Ralphie's little Christmas Story house. All right, I kind of thought it was in like a neighborhood. That doesn't look like it's in a neighborhood. That almost looks like it's freestanding. Let's see what else. Are there any other pictures of this place? Nope. Oh, Black Panther. Oh my God. You guys, I saw Black Panther over the weekend. You know what's funny about going to movie theaters? There are definitely two classes of movie theaters now. There are movie theaters that you walk into and you're like, oh my God, I don't ever want to leave here. Where the chairs are like, I don't know, like the kind of chair you would expect if you were flying from New York to Hong Kong in first class. They're just like really unbelievable chairs. So there's that. That's like the new, and those are the people where you can get like waiters and waitresses that bring your food right to your table, and it's got a fold up, like a school desk that pops up and it becomes a table. Oh, it's wonderful. Wonderful. And then there's like the other kind of movie theaters that is still like doing the 1990s model where there's duct tape on the chairs because they've been ripped and they don't all recline and there's just gross. Yeah, I went to that one. I went to that movie theater. And here's what's crazy about it. My son and I have been going to this Cinépolis theater down by American Airlines Center. It's like attached to it's down there in Victory Plaza here in Dallas, so it's right next to what. And I made the mistake of we went and saw Black Adam during a Mavericks game. Oh my God, the traffic just trying to get to the movie theater, just trying to pull into the movie theater's parking garage was nuts. But anyway. So we really like the Cinépolis Theater. It's like the most beautiful, gorgeous, kick-ass movie theater we've ever been to. We love it. I swear to God, they're like couches. It's unbelievably cool and beautiful and clean, and the food was good. And it was just like, if you're going to get people to come out to movie theaters, that's what you got to start doing. You got to stop cramming people in. You got to give people all the room to relax. Because remember, you're competing with their media rooms. You're competing with their living rooms. People can, watch all of this stuff at home now. So if you want to get them to get out and go to your place and buy your popcorn, buy your chicken sandwich or whatever it is that you're selling them, have a couple of drinks. That's the other thing I love. I love the introduction of beer and booze in the movie theaters. I think a long time coming. So the Cinépolis was fantastic. And then we went, are you ready? We went to the Angelica Mockingbird Station to see Wakanda Forever over the weekend. Now, you guys, the Angelica used to be like the show. But the Angelicas are beautiful, beautiful movie theaters 20 years ago. Oh, boy, I'm not kidding you. Duct tape on the seats, the screen. There was like a rip in the screen. It was not good, especially since, we had become accustomed to the Cinépolis movie going experience. Wakanda Forever. It's terrible. It might be, I've had a couple of days now to think about it. It might be the worst of the superhero movies, at least the ones of recent memory, which is really disappointing because I loved Black Panther. Like the Black Panther, the film Black Panther is easily a top 3 for me, favorite superhero films of all time. So I was very excited about Wakanda for too much exposition, too many funerals. There was literally a point in this movie where I went, oh my God, we're going to sit through another funeral. All of these like real solemn occasions with like traditional Wakandan dancing numbers and all that. I'm like, no, can we just get to some superhero stuff? Not enough superhero stuff. And I'll compare it to Black Adam, which we saw the previous week. So we saw Black Adam, and then the next week we saw Wakanda Forever. Black Adam was awesome. Black Adam hit the ground running. Things were blowing up. Planes were falling from the sky. Dudes were fighting. It was nonstop superhero awesomeness. Black Adam, DC, was much better than Marvel's Wakanda Forever. It was so boring. Although, I am interested, like, in the next Black Panther movie, because this entire movie seemed to be setting up the next few Black Panther movies. They had to Chadwick Boseman. Oh my God, my kid and I, we got a little bit verklempt when they did the whole tribute to Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman died of cancer. He was Black Panther. He was awesome. He was so cool. Everybody loved Chadwick Boseman. And so this entire movie was 3 hours. It was like 2 hours and 45 minutes. This entire movie seems to be about putting to end King T'Challa, who was, of course, Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther, and introducing the new Black Panther, who is his sister, right? Is it his sister? I don't even remember. It was so convoluted. I was like, which one is the Black Panther? Is she the Black Panther? Anyway, whoever they settled on for the new Black Panther, I thought to myself, okay, so when they make the next Black Panther movie, and it's just a Black Panther movie about being a crime fighter and all that stuff, I'll watch that because I don't have a problem with this new Black Panther. She seems cool. She's fine. But to spend 2.5 hours of just people going, oh, T'Challa is dead. What are we going to do? Who's going to be the new Black Panther? And then funeral after funeral after funeral. It's just like, nope, no thank you. Although I will say one of the big surprises of the Wakanda Forever, JLD. That's right, Julia Louis-Dreyfus getting herself a pretty nice role there in a Marvel film. Has she been in Marvel films before? I don't know. She seemed to be playing a character that had some established roots in the universe, but I don't remember. I don't recall seeing JLD in a Marvel film before. But anyway, anytime JLD shows up on screen, I'm down for it. All right, what else do we got here? Let's see. Christmas Story House. Jeff Bezos says that he's going to give away all of his money in his lifetime. Believe that when I see it there. Bezos, world's fourth richest man. He says that he plans on giving his fortune away. Good for him. Also, Paulina Poroskova is making the rounds. She's trending. And she's trending because she's coming out. No, not coming out. Like, she's not gay. Well, maybe she is. I don't know. But she's like coming out after, like, Rick Ocasek died. And she was heartbroken and she kind of recoiled, into Rick Ocasek, lead singer of the Cars, Paulina Poroskova, like my second favorite supermodel of all time. Supermodel draft. Okay, we'll do a supermodel draft with the first pick in the Pugs and Company supermodel draft. The crew from Pugs and Company will be selecting number 1 off the board, Elle Macpherson. Elle Macpherson is off the board with the second pick in the supermodel draft. Pugs and Company will be selecting Paulina Poroskova. That's right, Paulina. Woo! Third pick in the supermodel draft. The team from Pugs and Company will be selecting in the third round Christie Brinkley. Christie Brinkley off the board. She's off the board. In the fourth round of the Pugs and Company supermodel draft, Pugs will be taking with the 4th overall pick, Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks goes off the board. Tyra Banks. And with the 5th and final pick in the Pugs and Company, or not Pugs, High Noon show, whatever. The 5th pick off the board in the supermodel draft, Kathy Ireland. Kathy Ireland, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. Boy, it's almost like I thought this through. It's almost like I had that list loaded up. That's right. Top 5. Elle Macpherson, Paulina Poroskova, Christie Brinkley, Tyra Banks, Kathy Ireland. There you go. And don't get it twisted. We're going to invite a whole bunch of undrafted free agents to camp. All of them. Bring them all in. Let me get a good look-see. Look at you, Brooklyn Decker. You can go over here. Paulina is trending, my number 2 off the board in my draft, my supermodel draft. But Emily Ratajkowski didn't even make the draft. Look at that. She would probably be a top 10er, though. Emily Ratajkowski, who we talked about because she's now dating Pete Davidson. Paulina is trending because she's talking about, just sort of reemerging, trying to get her life back. After a lifetime of being looked at, Paulina Poroskova is ready to be heard. The 57-year-old former model opens up about navigating grief, plus the money and career advice she wishes that she had known while raising her children. 57. She's still gorgeous. She's still like hot Paulina. You know what I mean? She's Paulina. Oh, boy. Paulina Poroskova is living proof that you can successfully rebuild your life at any age. Well, yeah, if you're beautiful and moneyed. What do you mean she's living proof? She's 57, gorgeous, and has a rock star fortune. She's living proof that anyone, no, not anyone, born in Cold War Czechoslovakia, Poroskova shot to supermodel stardom after she landed her first Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue in 1984. That would explain why she ranks so high. I was 14. Right? A 14-year-old. She's like the cover of Sports Illustrated. Yeah, that's probably why she's the number 2 overall draft pick in my supermodel draft. She shot to fame in 1984 and as the face of Estee Lauder in 1989. She was one of the highest paid models in the world. At 19, she fell in love with the Cars frontman, Rick Ocasek, who was more than 20 years older than her. I didn't know that. I had no idea that I knew Rick Ocasek was older than Paulina, but I didn't know that much older. Like Rick Ocasek, this is so great. This is why I love Eastern European women. They don't. It's not the same as American women. They don't look at dudes like, oh, he's not hot. Eastern European women don't care. Eastern European women are looking for something else, and that's what she saw in Rick Ocasek, who looks like a bug. Rick Ocasek looks like a big, giant, skinny, gross, smelly bug, and yet he was with one of the most beautiful women in the world. 20 years, too, man. Like so she was 19. So Rick Ocasek was 39. 39, maybe 40, and he's got like 19-year-old Paulina Poroskova. The 80s. I told you, there were no rules in the 80s. No rules. Nobody batted an eye. Nobody thought anything. You know what we thought when we all heard, like around 1985 or whatever, that Paulina and Rick Ocasek were an item? You know what we all thought? We all thought, why is she with him? He's ugly. That's what we thought. Nobody thought, why is she with him? He's like old enough to be her grandpa or dad or whatever. You know what I mean? Nobody thought that. It was just all about she's hot, he's ugly. That's a weird coupling. And they stayed together forever. And then he died. He died of cancer a couple of years ago. And so now she's got a new book. New book is called No Filter. The Good, the Bad, and the Beautiful. A book about rare life, profound love, profound grief, anxiety, self-assurance, empowerment, aging, loss, and joy. Paulina's got a new book. All right, that's it. I got nothing else. I'm going to get out of here. I can already tell that my cold medication is wearing thin. I appreciate y'all hanging out here, spending a little extra time. Show got started about an hour late today. I just I love doing these shows. So, sometimes I'm going to always try and do a show. Well, maybe it'll be an hour late. Maybe. I'm not saying that this is going to be a normal thing. Like there's no reason. It was just today we had some extenuating circumstances. What's going on here? There we go. There's our closing theme. Yeah, Ross. Ross Rubio knows. Rick Ocasek looked like a praying mantis. That's good. Kevin Barber says JLD has been in the end credit scenes of the Falcon Soldier Winter. Okay. She's organizing a rogue Suicide Squad type team called the Thunderbolts. She recruited that crazy U.S. agent from the Falcon show. Okay. All right. So they're building a little bit of a storyline for JLD. She's welcome anywhere. She can show up in anything at any time. She always makes it better. Jeff says he didn't like the first Black Panther. I love the first Black Panther. I want to say that I saw the first Black Panther around the same time as Wonder Woman. Were they released around the same time? Because whenever I think of Black Panther, I think of Wonder Woman. Whenever I think of Wonder Woman, I think of Black Panther. So I must have seen them in relative quick succession to one another. I loved both of them. I loved Wonder Woman, the original Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman 1984 is so stupid and so terrible, they ought to just shut her up the entire franchise. That was an embarrassment. But the original Wonder Woman was cool. The original Black Panther was cool. But this new Black Panther, so boring. From the Killmonger. We get one scene with Killmonger. I'm sorry, I don't mean. I know the backstory, but still, if you're gonna have Killmonger, make him a real part of it. Don't just. Tomorrow is another day. The best is yet to. All right, I got nothing else. Kevin Barber asks, "What did you think of Namor?" Now, Kevin, you're a comic book guy. I don't know who Namor is. Who is Namor? Was Namor a character in Black Panther? Because I'm at the level where I don't really know the character names. I just go, oh, that dude. Oh, that chick. Oh yeah, I like that chick. Oh no, I don't like that. So who is Namor? All right, you know what? Because of the delay, I could probably just Google Namor and then I could see and then I can answer it for you. So what did I think of Namor? Let me see here. Oh, Namor! I gotcha. Yeah. So Namor is kind of like the. So they introduced. This is so funny with DC and Marvel. So they introduced they all have the same characters. They just have different names. So Namor is, I guess, the Marvel version of Aquaman, right? So he was like a fish dude. He's like part fish, and he's got stupid wings on his feet. All right. So what did I think of Namor? Well, my 13-year-old son explained to me that I shouldn't have an opinion on him either way because he's sort of a chaotic neutral character, and sometimes he's good, sometimes he's an anti-hero, sometimes he's a bad guy. So I was like, yeah, I don't know about all of that, but I thought the actor was cool. I thought the character was interesting. I thought the little pigeon birds on his feet were dumb. That was stupid. That makes no sense. But that was all right. Yeah, he's all right. I think that Aquaman's better. I gotta give. Come on, man. Jason Momoa? This dude, Namor? Fine, whatever. I'm going Aquaman. I would, in a fight between Aquaman and Namor. I don't know. Maybe Namor's got magic powers. I don't really think Aquaman has any. Like Aquaman's greatest power is his disarming charm. You know, he's just kind of charming. Like it's about superpower. I'm gonna smile and wink at you. I mean, I'm strong. I'm ripped. Look at me. I've got a swimmer's body because I've spent the past 39 years of my life in water. I'm not really a fighter because, I punch underwater and that's kind of weird. But I would take Aquaman over Namor. I might be wrong. His ears. All right, we got to go. We'll see you tonight for Pugs and Parker Pillow Talk at 9 o'clock. Love you guys. Bye.